Why is my podcast not growing? What am I doing wrong? Where am I missing the mark? Is there a certain strategy that I haven't tried yet? Am I just dumb and I don't know how all this podcast marketing stuff works? I've had all of these thoughts. I've actually had people say these to me, but I'm just going to tell you personally, I have thought all of these things. And so today I want to share a little bit about why I think your podcast isn't growing and what you can do about it. So let's get right to it. Hey podcaster, Crystal here today, and we are talking about one of the reasons why your podcast may not be growing. So why aren't people listening to your show? One of the reasons is you don't know how to talk about your podcast. Therefore, you don't know how to ask people to listen to your show. Now, I have done a few podcast episodes and YouTube videos that I'll link below that have to do with marketing and creating an elevator pitch and actually developing a few sentences on how you can tell someone real fast, like, hey, this is my podcast. Here's what you can expect from it. But to go above and beyond that, I really want to talk to those of you that have said, because you've told me, I've heard this from a lot of your mouths, you will say to me, I've asked people to listen to my podcast, but then nothing happens. I just hear crickets. And then I will ask you back, well, how do you ask them? Like, ask me like you would ask a potential listener. This is what they say. Well, there's a brand new episode out. You should listen. Yeah, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. If you're like, oh, that's how I market my show, it's not good enough. And I'm not here to shame you. I'm here to educate you on ways that you can actually tell people how to listen to your show. But just telling someone or posting on social media a soundbite that says there's a new episode, go listen, it's not good enough. You have to be able to tell people something that's going to make them pick up their phone and say, I need to listen to this right now. Or I'm about to go on a walk. I'm going to queue this up so I can listen to it on my walk. Or I know that I'm going to be driving to go pick the kids up from school soon. I'm going to get this ready so I can listen to it in the car. You want people to actually take action based on what you say whenever you're marketing your podcast. So how do you do this, right? This is the $1 million question. You're like, well, Crystal, you're telling me I need to ask people and I can't just say there's a new episode, listen. So what am I supposed to do? Well, I'm going to recommend that you dig a little deeper into what your episode is actually about. Are you solving a problem for your listener? Are you trying to educate them on something that you think is really important to the topic that you're sharing on your podcast? Or are you just trying to get them to laugh? Is it one of those episodes where I'm going to pee my pants because you told a hilarious story and everyone's just going to love it so much? I got to be really honest. These are episodes that I've listened to because someone said, I almost peed my pants listening to this. You have to go check it out. Those are usually the ones I'll pick up my phone and say, I'm listening to this podcast next. Because it's telling me what I'm going to get as a listener, as a consumer. I know that when I listen to that show, there's going to be, and here's the key word, value. There's so many different ways that you can define the word value, whether it's brightening someone's day, you're solving a problem for them, you're making them laugh, you're educating them, you're motivating them, you're inspiring them. Like the list goes on what the word value means for your podcast, but that's what you have to lead with. So when you see me marketing my show, I never say, there's a new episode out, you should go listen. I typically will call out a very specific subset of my audience, whether it's, hey, new podcasters, or hey, seasoned podcasters, or hey, podcasters, if you're about to launch, this episode is for you. And then I will tell them what they will walk away from that episode with. Hey, you should listen to this episode because I'm laying out the 4 ways that you can really implement a podcast launch strategy this year. It's very specific. And yes, it may seem like it's a lot of work, but it gets easier over time. The more you practice marketing, the more you put effort into it, the easier it becomes. It's also why I'm a big fan of planning and spending a lot more time on the pre-recording, right? Like before you ever get in the studio and hit that record button, I want you thinking about, well, what is the value that someone would walk away from this podcast episode with? Because if you think about that at the very beginning, it's going to be easier to say it in your podcast and identify it on the post-recording, the post-publication, where you can say, hey, this brand new episode is out. Here's what it's all about. And here's why you need to go listen to it right now. So if you found this tip helpful on one of the reasons why your podcast may not be growing, I invite you to a brand new training that we have coming up this week. So if you're watching this in real time, I want you to go to crystalproffitt.com/training to register for our free training, 4 reasons your podcast isn't growing and what to do about it. I'm not just going to tell you all the things you're doing wrong or the things that maybe you didn't even know to do. I'm going to share with you the things that I see over and over again, the mistakes podcasters are making, and how you can fix them before they ever become a big problem. So if you've been podcasting for a while and you're like, man, I haven't seen any growth in the last 6 months, you need to come to this training. If you're just getting started and you're like, I don't know, like I launched my show and I really have just kind of flatlined after a while, you need to come to the training. Or if you've been podcasting for 12 months or longer and you're like, this isn't working for me anymore. I don't have the spark. I don't have the passion that I used to have for my show. You need to be in this training. So again, it's called 4 Reasons Your Podcast Isn't Growing and What to Do About It. So go to crystalproffitt.com/training to register, because I want you to make 2022 the year that your podcast growth explodes. I know that you can do it, so I hope that you join us so you can get some tips and strategies on how you can make that happen. But that's all I have for you today, so I hope that you found today's video helpful. Make sure you hit the thumbs up if you did, and subscribe below. That way you don't miss our other videos all about podcasting and running your online business. Check out these other videos right here, all about podcasting and running your online business. And as always, remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere.